Hi, everyone. We're just welcoming people into the webinar. Thank you so much for being here for Sandpiper's 6th grade information session. We're going to give people a few minutes to get in, and then we'll start in a minute or two. For those of you who are here and waiting, we are recording this session and it will be available on our website and on the district website. So if you missed something or want to just go back and review it, it will be available for you to review. As we're presenting, feel free to post questions in the chat. We hope that through our presentation, we are able to answer most, if not all, of your questions. But if something comes up that we don't address, please feel free to put the question in the chat and we'll try to get to them at the end. And I see just a couple more people are coming in. We'll get started in about 30 seconds. All right. So again, welcome everyone. I am Gloria Higgins. I'm the principal of Sandpiper. We are very pleased to see you here tonight. Thank you so much for attending our 6th grade information night. I'll introduce the other panelists in just a minute, but a little housekeeping. If you have questions that come up, please feel free to put them in the chat. We really hope to have all of your questions addressed through our presentation, but if we miss something or don't address something as completely as you need, please do feel free to put that question in the chat and we'll try to address it at the end. We do have some time constraints for some of our panelists tonight, so we're gonna get started right away. First, let me thank Dan DeGuara, our superintendent. He actually contributed some content for this slide and he loves to be at these sessions, and tonight he was just not able to make it. So he sends his regrets, but we're very grateful to have his leadership in our district and thankful for his support. Again, I'm Gloria Higgins. I'm the principal of Sandpiper. And also joining us on the call, and I'll just have them introduce themselves, Assistant Principal Nick Walker. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, no, I'm just happy to be here and happy to introduce myself and really excited to potentially meet some of you next year as your assistant principal.
And we have, thank you very much, Nick. We have 6th grade teachers, Miss Beret. You're on mute, Miss Beret.
I'm muting.
Happens every time.
Nice to see everybody here. I am the 6th grade teacher for ELA and social studies. And I have been here at Sandpiper within the district for 5 years and have taught for about 15. And so I'm really pleased to be teaching ancient cultures and social studies and teaching writing to your students.
Thank you, Ms. Beret. We also have Mrs. Van Laar.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Van Laar. I teach math and science as well as cultural arts as my elective. I have been at Sandpiper for about 7 years. I've taught 2nd grade and 5th grade for 5 years. And then now I've moved up to the middle school. So welcome, and I hope I get to meet you guys soon.
Thank you very much. We have Miss Dong.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Dong, the education specialist at Sandpiper. We call it the Learning Center teacher. I work with students with IEPs, so I probably won't see all of you, maybe just a few of you guys, but welcome.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dong. Mr. Lusich.
Hi guys, I'm Mr. Lusich. I am the middle school counselor at Sandpiper. So for 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders, I'm the one who will be interacting with the students, working with them, doing lessons in class and things like that. It's a pleasure to be here and I look forward to meeting all of you.
All right, thank you. And you'll also see in a moment, Mr. Van Laar, affectionately known as Coach A.A. Ron by the students. He'll be joining as well. He is one of our middle school teachers. He teaches PE to all our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we have a presentation to go through. And again, at any time, if you feel like we haven't addressed a question, please feel free to put it in the chat. We will review those at the end. All right, so welcome to our 6th grade orientation. We are very fortunate to be in a school district with a very strong academic foundation. And one of the things I am most proud of and pleased to have discovered here in BRSSD is the strong community connection. Sandpiper has a tremendous network of support from our families, and we really appreciate that. It is also a very important part of our district and our school that we have so many initiatives that support 21st century learning, things like critical thinking skills, academic excellence, and most especially for me, the social emotional skill support. That's not something that you see in very many districts, so it's really wonderful to find it here. We do have district goals for the 2020-21 school year. And given our current situation, it's no surprise to everyone that prioritizing safety and wellness is really at the top of that list. It's our job and our highest priority to take care of your students and make sure they are safe and well at school while we're ensuring their instructional quality. It's also very important to us that we communicate with you effectively. Please feel free to reach out to any one of us whenever you have a question. And of course, the financial stability and reciprocal accountability in our school district supports our ability to meet all of our goals. At Sandpiper specifically this year, our goals are to respond equitably to the academic needs of our students, to attend to their social, emotional, and mental health needs, very important in this current year. We are also in the middle of reviewing and committing to a collaboratively developed school vision and mission. It was time for us to review that, and we're really excited about the work that we are engaged in there. And I'm very proud of how our parent leadership community and our leadership groups have come together through our PTA, through our ELAC, our Language Learner Advisory Committee, and through our site council, as well as school force representatives and just all the ways in which parents can volunteer at our school. And here's our 6th grade team. They introduced themselves to you a few minutes ago. Again, we have Miss Beret, who teaches ELA, Social Studies, and the Digital Arts elective. Mrs. Van Laar teaches Math, Science, and Cultural Art. Mr. Van Laar teaches PE. Mr. Lusich is our middle school counselor, and Ms. Dong is our Learning Center teacher. It's a really wonderful team. I'm sure that you are out there in the audience giving them jazz hands. They deserve it. With that, I am going to turn it over to Ms. Beret, who's going to talk a little bit about the big ideas and the core curriculum that we have in language arts and history, social studies.
For English language arts, we use the Readers and Writers Workshop program, which is a step-by-step reading and writing program that starts with some basic building blocks and builds from there. The students improve their overall writing, increase their vocabulary, and they also gain a lot of independence in their writing. We work collaboratively as team. One-on-one, I meet with the students and give them feedback. And we also read together in class, working on book clubs so that they are meeting like a group. Even though we've been doing distance learning, they have their book clubs, so they meet in small groups and they challenge themselves. So right now we're in the middle of our power reading for our school force. So we're working towards our reading goals. As far as reading, we work on social issues and life stories. The first trimester focusing on personal narrative writing, so it dovetails very nicely. Right now we're working on informative writing, which it works with nonfiction and research papers. I moved that up because the students right now are also participating in either National History Day projects or STEM fair projects. So learning how to do informative writing pieces and researching nonfiction is very important for this second trimester. After that, we go into deep study of character, comparing and contrasting our reading pieces, and we work on argument writing the last trimester. We also fit in with our book clubs, fantasy writing and graphic novels, which the students really, really love. For our history, we have a great program. It's called History Alive, and it focuses on history in the ancient world. It starts at the beginning of humanity and goes all the way up through ancient Rome, and that is a huge chunk of time to cover, but we get through the early rise of civilization in Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, and the Middle East. We are just jumping into the Middle East right now, which will go into China, ancient Greece, and Rome. And we do this through the TCI. We have an online book. There are interactive activities that the students work on together. And then I supplement it with ed puzzles, some art integration videos also to bring the history alive so the students can actually, see what's going on, hear what's going on, and kind of tie everything in together. So it's a really dynamic program, and I'm very happy to present it to the students, and they all seem very engaged, and they really, really are enjoying the pieces that we are covering right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Beret. And I'll just add, Ms. Beret will have to leave us in just a few seconds, or sorry, a few minutes. She knows what you're going through. Tonight is her son's orientation at high school, so she can relate to you on a very personal level, but we're appreciative of her time here today, and she'll stay on for as long as she can, but she may need to leave us tonight.
And then just to add, if there are any specific questions that you have, please forward them to Ms. Higgins. She will forward them on to me, and I'm more than happy to clarify any questions in case I'm not here. Normally there's questions for Q&A, but I'm happy to answer all of those.
Thank you so much, Ms. Beret. All right, Mrs. Van Laar, if you're ready, we're up for math and science.
Sure. For math, I know in 5th grade, taught it for 5 years. One of the main focuses is fractions and decimals, and your children will not get any escape from fractions in 6th grade as well. That pattern will just kind of continue on for the rest of their math career. We will start with factors and multiples just to kind of get us going. And then from there, we move into ratios, rationales, and equivalents. We move into fractions. And then this year, one of the main things that we kind of keep hitting is percentages, whether that's a sales tax, a discount, or a grade. So lots of percentages in 6th grade. We do a little bit of algebra and then statistics and data analysis, as well as 2-dimensional measurements and a little bit of geometry in there. We use CPM3, which is the math curriculum. Most of it that we use is online, which is really nice. So we do have a big red heavy textbook, but we mostly are using the online component, which is nice for the kids. And this year they don't have to carry it around. So that's a plus for them in distance learning. For science, it's pretty similar to the 4-5 science. A lot of the main ideas are still there, except we just build a little bit more on them. So you'll see energy, water and weather, humans and climate change, which is a common theme now in science that we like to include through each grade level. Newer for 6th grade science is going to be cells and body systems, and then growth and reproduction in plants and animals. And I had a lot of kids ask me at the beginning of the year, are humans included in animals in this? And I said, no, just plants and animals. That comes a little bit later on in your science career, that we include humans in reproduction.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Van Laar. Up next, if Mr. Van Laar is ready, he can trade places with you.
Hi guys, I'm Coach A. Ron. I guess you can call me Mr. Van Laar, but that is my father. In PE, we go over everything. We go over sports, football, volleyball, soccer, hockey, basketball, frisbee. Frisbee is one of my favorite ones, and of course, we hit some kickball in there. We have a lot of new games, just fun activities, and we do have physical fitness, but I try to hide it in everything else that we're doing, so it doesn't feel like we're running a lot. It doesn't feel like we're doing all the push-ups and sit-ups, because we hide it in other activities and games. And we also learn about nutrition, goal setting, healthy habits, all about different muscle groups, and we even do some mindfulness and some yoga. So PE is a ton of fun, and yeah, I'm excited to start PE when back on the field.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Van Laar.
Of course.
All right, Mr. Lusich, you're up next with the social emotional learning curriculum.
All right. Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and nice to sort of virtually meet you, even if I can't see you guys. I really am happy to be here, and I look forward to meeting you all next year. For our social emotional curriculum, we really have the best of what's available. So second step is a social emotional curriculum developer. And so for the first time ever in the last couple of years, they had middle school specific curriculum. So it's brand new, it's state of the art, it's the best of what you can get. And fortunately, that's what our district has, which is part of what Mrs. Higgins mentioned as far as this district having a focus on social emotional education, social emotional curriculum. We quite literally have the most contemporary, up-to-date, and best curriculum out there. And what we're doing is delivering it through lessons in class, currently, of course, through Zoom, but they're fun, interactive lessons. It's just an absolute joy to get to know the kiddos and to be in the classes and to get to know them. The teachers here, Ms. Beret and Ms. Van Laar, who you've met, are also wonderful facilitators. But so basically, we run through a series of second step lessons, also just with some fun questions, some check-ins, just to, make sure the kids are able to relate to each other and interact, especially when we're virtual. So it's not all just me talking or teaching. They get to actually interact and have some fun, which is really nice, especially in the middle of the pandemic. But what we essentially cover, there's 27 lessons altogether. The first covers mindset and goals. So how to achieve and get what you want out of life, whether that's short-term or long-term, and how to overcome obstacles. The second is recognizing bullying and harassment, which is where we're into right now. Thirdly, we have thoughts, emotions, and decisions. And then the final series of lessons is about managing relationships and social conflicts. And so that's what's covered. So essentially, that's how the curriculum is delivered. It's delivered through the classrooms. And then I'm also, of course, available to meet with students, families individually as well, if any individual concerns come up. And we also have a wonderful district mental health team for things that may perhaps go beyond just the normal counseling realm. So we have additional support available as well. So I think that kind of covers the SEL component. And at the end of this, of course, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Lusich. All right, back to Ms. Van Laar and Ms. Beret, if Ms. Beret is still on. Do you want to speak a little bit about the electives that you are offering this year?
Sure. So I do digital media and arts, and it's a very dynamic class. In the class, they work individually, and then they also work on group projects. We've been working on digital photography. We just started stop motion animation, and also how-to videos, like making YouTube videos and putting in the words, putting in the titles, and getting up in front of a camera and teaching a skill that to others. We also do the online school newspaper. We use two platforms, Google Slides and Google Sites, which I think are really great platforms, because then when the students have to go on and do a presentation in another class, they have all these skills underneath their belt, and they are able to produce slideshow presentations, videos, how-to videos, create their own site, and it really does lend well to the overall learning of the student. We also do a bit of cooking. There's a cultural piece in there where they teach something about maybe their favorite recipes, backgrounds from their culture. and they make a presentation with a little video embedded. So that's a really nice way to get to know everybody at the beginning of the year. And one other thing that we do, we also work on editing and a music video, which is like something they really, really love. So it is a lot of fun. It is very dynamic, very creative, and has a lot of different facets.
Thank you, Ms. Beret. Mrs. Van Laar.
Yes. So my elective is cultural arts, and we basically learn about different cultures' arts, and we do it in kind of a 3D form. So it's not just sketching on paper, but it's more so building things with our hands or learning different cultural dances and the history and background of where this traditional art comes from. So in the beginning of the year, we started off with a small unit of dance. We learned about hula dancing and the history of hula dance in Hawaii. We learned about Bollywood dancing. We did some different dances from South America. So that was a lot of fun for kids to do online and on Zoom. And then so far, we've also tapped into different forms of art. So I have some pictures of some student work here. We did origami from Japan and the traditional folding of paper, as well as learning about Japanese fashion, traditional fashion. And we've made kimonos. We have also done henna hands, where we rolled out hands with the clay, and kids have drawn in different henna designs, as well as West African basket weaving. So we made some little baskets. So it's a lot of fun. It's all 3D art. And it's kind of got a modern take on the traditional art that you may have seen from different cultures.
All right, thank you again. And I would just add that at Sandpiper, we have a tradition, a practice of 2 electives per grade level, and we really try to have one that's more STEM focused or, digital technology kind of focus, and one that's more humanities focused. So you can kind of see that here in the 6th grade offerings. The electives may change from year to year, depending on credentialing and staffing and those kinds of things, but we do try to maintain that STEM and humanities options. All right. And then Mrs. Van Laar, if I could impose upon you to talk about Genius Hour. Thank you.
Ms. Bray, do you want to add in any?
Yes, I was
get started.
I was just squinting at the time.
Oh.
Yes, I'll just pop in a little bit about Genius Hour before I sign off, families. So Genius Hour is something that is very unique to Sandpiper, and it happens on Wednesdays, and the students basically have a passion project. It could be anything from music to art. It could be writing, it could be coding, it could be painting, learning how to draw 3D dimensionals. You name it, it can be a passion project. It is not a research project, it is a growth project. And it comes from, the Genius Hour name comes from a lot of the tech companies in the area take about 20% of their week, and they focus on passion projects to stimulate the creativity of the individual, bring new ideas to people within their group, as well as an integration with the community. So I've had students work on, local levee cleanup. I've had students work on, training dogs. I've had them work on the different ways that you hear sounds for linguistics. And one of the students had a sibling that had some auditory challenges. And so that was interesting to them. So it is not a research project. It is an activity that is based on each student's passion, that they can give back to their students and the community something that they have learned, and perhaps inspire other people.
Yeah, this year we had a lot of kids learn how to sew during their Genius Hour time, and they made masks to donate to different hospitals or to elder care facilities. So it's really a time for them to, yes, invest in their passion, but also to give back to their community somehow. So it's really nice to kind of see them be, leaders in the community and take this time to give back.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go now.
All right, Miss Dong, you're up.
Learning Center. So Learning Center is also known as resource room at some other school districts. So students with special needs who do have an individualized education program will come to the Learning Center to receive their specialized academic instruction service. So they will either be working directly with me, or they will be working with a paraeducator. So our paraeducator is amazing. She's Miss B. She's not here today, but the students will work with either one of us or with the both of us. It really depends on the schedule. And depending on the students' service minutes, so they might come to the Learning Center at the end of a block or during Wednesday alternative learning lab time. So at Sandpiper on Wednesdays, we also have this thing called All Time, which is a time like a whole block where students just check in with their teachers, or they work on their homework assignments, or they work in groups to work on their Genius Hour projects. So it's a very flexible time. So when students do come to the Learning Center during that time, they are not missing out on their core subjects. And at the Learning Center, we do have a lot of programs for decoding, for math. So we have the Linda Mood Bell program for to work on decoding. We have the iReady math curriculum to support students in math, etc. So lots of programs.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dong. And I would also add that Ms. Dong works with an incredible team of other service providers in our special education department. And if your student has an IEP, we have a speech therapist at Sandpiper. We also have services for occupational therapy, physical therapy, whatever services are on your student's IEP, we can provide through Sandpiper. All right, Mr. Walker, it's your turn for PBIS.
Right, awesome. PBIS is our school-wide positive behavior support system. It's a program that reinforces our core values of being safe, thoughtful, accountable, and respectful. It involves multiple elements. It has lessons, and in this case, while we're virtual, there's some videos that are incorporated that include students. Those lessons are explicitly taught and reinforced throughout the school year. They are modeled by our staff and our students. And we recognize students throughout the year in sort of our star card recognition system. And if you end up here, you'll see exactly what that looks like. It's sort of a caught being good system with appropriate middle school incentives that encourage students to, reflect those positive behaviors throughout the year. We also bring a restorative philosophy to what we do. One of the things that Ms. Higgins talked about is that Sandpiper has a strong community. We also have a strong school community within the school itself, and we want to acknowledge that we're all a part of that community. We want to build that community, and when something does happen, we want to repair that community as well. Generally, we focus on one theme a month, and we include that in our assemblies. Right now, our assemblies are virtual, but next year we're hoping that everything will be back in person. So we'll have in-person assemblies, and there is some opportunity for middle school students to participate in those assemblies as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. I will address, and I'm not sure if Mr. Van Laar is right there with Mrs. Van Laar still, but I'll address the sports, music, and clubs opportunities at Sandpiper. Traditionally, and I will say, I have only known Sandpiper through distance learning, but traditionally Sandpiper has sports teams for basketball, volleyball, and flag football and tennis. There are opportunities if your student should attend Sandpiper for middle school. There are opportunities for them to try out for teams at Ralston as well. The teams at Ralston are generally competitive teams, and so students do try out for them, though the track and cross country teams are what are considered no-cut teams, so anybody who wants to join those teams may do so. And the practices at Ralston are after school, so if your student wants to participate in that, there's opportunity for them to get to Ralston in time for those practices. We do have instrumental music options for middle school students. Those happen optionally before school. So that is possible and available to your students. We also have a very strong tradition of clubs and after-school enrichment programs at Sandpiper. Just a couple of the more popular ones, although they're all very, very exciting. We have a robotics club, which has earned itself a lot of renown for their excellence. And our theater group, we love to put on plays, and there's a strong committed group of families and leaders who support our drama for our students in middle school. We also have middle school leadership programs and many, many more clubs, garden club, library helpers, all kinds of things that students can get involved in at Sandpiper. We do also have a service learning expectation where students participate in 20 hours per year of service. And that can be everything from, helping to clean up the bay, some of our trails that are locally here nearby, cleaning up campus, lots of different ways in which students can earn their 20 hours of service credit per year. I did want to include a slide with our emails. We have I see a typo in Mr. Walker's email address. We'll fix that. But we have myself again. I'm Gloria Higgins. I'm the principal. We saw Mr. Walker, our assistant principal. That is Nick Walker, nwalker@brssd.org. I thought I fixed that. Office staff, you see pictured in our photograph here. That's Leslie McGuire on the right and Carmen Rogers on the left. They are more than happy to help you with any question that you have in the office related to enrollment or immunizations or any kind of technical information. They are there to help you, and you can see their emails as well. This might be a kind of a technical question, so I wanted to make sure that you had this information. Sometimes it can be confusing for families if they need to fill out an enrollment or a choice form. So bear with me as I just kind of go through the chart here for you. If you are currently a fifth grader, or if your student is currently a fifth grader at Sandpiper and you want to stay at Sandpiper, yes, you do still need to fill out a choice form. You'll choose the middle school choice form for current students and just indicate that you want to be at Sandpiper. If you'd rather go to Nesbitt, you can indicate that as well. If we do not receive a student choice form, a middle school choice form from you, the automatic placement is to Ralston. So if you want to stay at Sandpiper, you do need to fill out that form. If you are currently a fifth grade student in another school in our district and you want to come to Sandpiper, again, yes, you do need to fill out a middle school choice form and just indicate that Sandpiper is your choice. If you choose to go to Nesbitt, that's the same thing, unless you're already a student at Nesbitt. Nesbitt does have automatic fifth grade to sixth grade enrollment. Again, if you don't fill out a form, then your automatic placement is to Ralston, unless you are a Nesbitt student who wants to stay at Nesbitt. And then, of course, for those of you in the audience who may be new to our district entirely for middle school, you need to fill out enrollment forms first, and then you will fill out the middle school choice form for new students. And you will need to do that if you want to go to Sandpiper or if you want to go to Nesbitt. Again, enrollment to Ralston is automatic if you do not fill out a middle school choice form. I'm sure we'll get some questions about that, and we'll look for those in the chat at the end. We wanted to give you an opportunity, if you aren't already a student at Sandpiper, to see what the middle school building looks like. This was constructed within the last 4 years. It's a very new building. It's beautiful and gorgeous. We really love it. It's a 2-story building. It's very exciting. And you can kind of see from the other angle here. And this is the elective room downstairs. So there's some nice big spaces. And just to kind of give you a sense of what the schedule looks like for our middle school students, classes do begin at 8:15, and we ask that students arrive between 8 o'clock and 8:05 and 8:15. When we are back in person, if your student is participating in something like music before school, of course, they would come a little earlier. But we really do ask that students not arrive any earlier than 8:05 unless they have a reason to be here. They do have a break, mid-morning break and a lunch that's about 40 minutes long. And then students are dismissed at 2:50 for most days. There is a minimum day on Wednesday with an earlier dismissal. We have many, many opportunities for parent leadership and parent volunteerism. And I love to share my true deep belief that parents are the child's first teacher and the most influential teacher. We love to have your students. We love to engage with them in learning, but there is no question that you are the most influential teacher in their lives. And we're really appreciative of your partnership as we work together to ensure they have really wonderful outcomes from our school. Some opportunities for volunteerism: you could be a room parent, you could provide some classroom support. Sometimes teachers like to have materials prepped at home if you're not able to come into the classroom. Yard duty supervision is always a need at schools, and we will welcome your support there. Chaperoning on field trips, we have book fairs, science fairs, and then again, our parent leadership groups, our PTA, our site council, and our ELAC, which is our Language Learner Advisory Committee. For our PTA, there are lots of ways that you can get communication, and those are all on the slide here. I do send out a weekly newsletter for students. Those are available on the website. If you're not currently enrolled at Sandpiper, you can always look at those on the website. The PTA sends out a bi-weekly school-wide newsletter. We also are on Facebook at Sandpiper Elementary School. We have a school website. And for PTA members, you have the Family Membership Toolkit, which is another way in which you get communication. You do not have to have a student at Sandpiper currently in order to join the PTA. So if you're ready to sign up for PTA, you can do that now and get onto that Family Membership Toolkit. If you are not a PTA member, you of course can get the bi-weekly school-wide newsletter if you would like that. The summer play dates there is a holdover from our TK kindergarten information session. We do try to set up some play dates for them. We will have some opportunities for students in 6th grade to get to know each other, get to know the campus through some barbecues and orientations in August. I want to talk just briefly about some of the organizations that do support our schools. And if you're already enrolled in our district, you're well aware of School Force and PTA and how they partner together to really support all of the schools in the district, including Sandpiper. Our School Force organization really supports infrastructure types of programs. So they really look at providing science opportunities. They make sure that the systems are in place to ensure smooth delivery of curriculum, smooth enrichment opportunities. PTA comes in and really kind of supports the home feeling, right? So if you think about the home as a metaphor for School Force and PTA, School Force is about the foundation and the beams and the electrical systems, and PTA is about the warm cushions, the warm blankets, the nice hot chocolate in the kitchen. That's how we think about PTA and School Force, and we need both of them and we appreciate both of them. I'm going to just quickly go through some of these slides for School Force. Despite living in a Very well-off community and a very fortunate community. BRSSD does not receive as much funding per student as other school districts in our state. And I don't think it would surprise many of you to know that in California, our students do not receive as much funding per student as other states in the nation. So that kind of gives us a double whammy here in Belmont-Redwood Shores. And that's where School Force and PTA really come together to make up some of the differences. Some of the things that get supported from School Force are those technology pieces, the Chromebooks. They provide professional development opportunities for our staff. You can see some of the other things in there as well. They are asking for the 2021-2022 school year. The donation request is for $1,550 per student. We are, of course, appreciative of any amount that families can contribute to School Force. And I'm just going to skip through some of these slides, and we're going to move on to PTA. Here at PTA, you can kind of see what gets supported. A lot of enrichment activities. Doesn't look like that slide transferred very well or isn't displaying very well, but PTA spends a lot of their time, effort, and financial resources on enrichment activities and academic supports for our students, including assemblies, field trip supports, classroom accounts so teachers can purchase materials and not worry about having to pay for those out of their pocket. And we are very, very appreciative of our PTA and our School Force leaders. Another way to look at what gets supported in the classroom academically from from PTA. Also enrichment activities like our science fair, Discovery Day, the talent show. And really the core mission of PTA is community building. So they provide and make sure that we have many opportunities to come together as a community. And we need your support. You can give your time, your talents, and your financial support. And again, we are very appreciative of all the work that our community does to support our students. And with that, we have come to the end of our presentation. This is time for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to ask Mr. Walker to help us monitor the chat and see what questions were asked, Mr. Walker.
And certainly, and I wanted to thank the staff here for addressing a lot of them in real time. So a lot of the questions did get answered along the way.
Perfect.
But I think some of them that came up, and some things we may not have the data right offhand here, but one of the questions, and I'm just going to roll it into an articulation question here. What sort of percentage is there from the other schools within the district that for students that aren't currently at Sandpiper end up at Sandpiper, and then where do Sandpiper students traditionally go to high school?
Sandpiper students do go to high school in lots of different high schools. Many go to private schools, but we do feed into the Sequoia Union High School District. And I would say most of our students end up going to Carlmont High School. I don't have exact percentages on that, but there are other high schools in the district that students may go to, and there are many private schools that students do go to. In terms of the roll up from 5th grade to 6th grade, I have to apologize. I don't have exact percentages on that. What I can do is get back to you on that. And I can also share that students at Sandpiper who fill out the middle school choice form and want to stay at Sandpiper do get a priority to stay at Sandpiper. And then as other slots are available, students from other schools in the district can fill those slots. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Is there another question?
Sure. There was a question about before and after school care in regards to Footsteps. I know that we don't offer Footsteps, but we do have two adjoining businesses that work with us. We have a group called Champions, and we also have a group called Sandpiper Youth Club that do offer care before and after school.
Yes, they do. And the contact information for Champions and for the Sandpiper Youth Club, which is run through the City of Redwood City's rec department, are always in my newsletter. They have a running announcement in my newsletter, and I will also be sure to include that in the slides before I post them onto the website.
There was a question sort of about how our math program works with the advanced math. Do we offer advanced math, or how do we differentiate for STEM extension?
Thank you. That's a great question. So in 6th and 7th grade, our math program is aligned to Common Core state standards for math. It does include algebra standards, as Ms. Van Laar addressed in her slide, that some algebra concepts are covered in 6th grade and 7th grade. So students do experience grade level appropriate Common Core standard aligned curriculum. That being said, we of course differentiate and support students, whether they are a little below grade level or a little above grade level. But the main focus in 6th and 7th grade is really those Common Core aligned standards. In 8th grade, all students have the opportunity to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade. So that is a possibility for students.
What are students' chances of getting into Sandpiper if they come from another school?
It's a really great question. I think we started to talk about that. I don't have percentages in terms of how many students came from other schools. I would highly encourage you to fill out your middle school choice form, turn it in. It is due by February 5th at 4 o'clock. As I mentioned, current Sandpiper students do have a priority, but there are spaces for students from other schools.
Okay, and then I think there was just some final thoughts about some additional electives. I know the PTA slide addressed some of those things, but music, band, and drama offerings, and any foreign language.
Yes, we currently do not have a foreign language offering. We have offered that as a before school or after school opportunity. As I mentioned when we spoke about the electives, it is dependent upon our credentialing and staffing. As a small middle school, we really love the community that we're able to foster here at Sandpiper. But it does mean that we have 2 teachers per grade level in middle school, plus a PE teacher. And so that does provide some limitations in terms of what we can offer during the school day. And we make up for a lot of that with after school enrichments and after school clubs or before school opportunities like our music before school. And we very much thank our PTA for supporting those programs. All right, so was that it, Mr. Walker?
I think that covers just about everything.
All right, well, wonderful. Thank you again, ladies, gentlemen, families, so much for attending. And again, thank you to all of our staff who attended. Also a thank you to Ms. Pam Hopkins, who has been hosting all of these webinars for all of our schools. We really appreciate her time and technological support. Again, the presentation has been recorded and it will be available for review on the district website as well as the Sandpiper website. And we are always happy to answer questions for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. The emails are on the slide. I'll make sure to correct Mr. Walker's email so that you can always reach us. We really look forward to seeing you all next year. We hope we get to see you in person sometime before the end of this year. And have a wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.